How you doing? Mark here with another Eastwood R&D Corner. Today we're going to be talking about something that's probably been plaguing a lot of you guys, and it's overheating. So what we got here, we got a 1967 Pontiac Firebird. It's got the 400 in it, and the owner's been experiencing 210, 220, even 230 in traffic temps. So he went through OE radiator, that didn't work. What you're going to see the temps, the footage that we have is there's an aluminum aftermarket in there now, and we're still running way too hot. So what we're going to do is solve this overheating problem with Eastwood's new Tri-Flow Max Power radiators. So let's get started and do the swap. The first thing you'll need to do is remove anything that may be in the way and then drain the coolant out of the radiator. Then we remove the fan and the shroud before removing the covers that were on the front of the Firebird radiator support. Remove the lines to the trans cooler and plug them so they don't leak. I'm going to show you an easy way to measure your radiator. What you want to do is from tank to tank, outside of tank. See, this one here is about 29 inches. Overall height to the top, we have 19 on this one. Now let's show you how to measure the unit that's in the car. All right, now we're going to show you how to measure the radiator in the vehicle. Do the same thing, tank to tank. This one here is about 28 and a half. And then overall height. That's about 18 and 3/8. So let's go on Eastwood's site right now and determine which radiator we need. All right, one last thing to consider when measuring the radiator is the frontal opening of your radiator support itself. You look at it here, you want to have as much of the core exposed here, not hidden behind any of this sheet metal. So just take that into consideration. On the website, we have all the dimensions for the core, tank to tank, top to bottom, so you can download the PDF, print it out, and then do the measurements on the vehicle. And now we can remove the radiator. But before we install the new one, let's take a look at the original clutch fan assembly. You can see the length of the original hardware that mounted it to the water pump pulley. Remember to use shorter bolts if you're converting from a mechanical to an electrical fan. Just apply some thread locker and tighten the bolts to hold on the pulley. Now it's time to test fit the radiator. With it in its basic location, you can see that it completely fills the opening in the radiator support, which means more air through the radiator, which is exactly what we want. And you can see the tabs on the radiator hitting in a few places. So we'll make some marks and cut around them so it fits tight to the radiator support. With my cut lines drawn, I need to transfer the lines to the other side to make it easier to cut. Just transfer the lines to the edge and then use a combination square to get your depth. You could also use a tape measure. Mark the spots with a center punch and drill holes in the corners. After the sides are cut, knock off the burrs with a file and smooth with a sanding disc. Now put the radiator in the car and mark to drill the holes. We'll drill 2 holes on each side. And here's a tip to make drilling easier. Start with a small bit and work your way up to the size hole you need for the bolt. With the holes drilled in the radiator tabs, put tape onto the radiator support and put the radiator back in the car to mark where holes should be drilled on the support. The tape should make it easy to see your marks for drilling the holes. If you're running an automatic transmission, now's the time to install the trans cooler. Simply follow the supplied instructions for the mounting hardware. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to install the fan onto the shroud itself using the supplied hardware. I suggest putting some RTV sealant around the shroud for a better fit to the radiator. Then put the bottom of the radiator into place and pull the top into position. Make sure you get the shroud around the filler neck. Then add some sealant to the sides of the shroud. Just pry out with a screwdriver to give yourself some space. With everything together, wipe off any sealant that may have pushed out, and you're ready to put the unit in the car for the last time. Simply install the bolts with any necessary spacers. You can use a stack of washers, but for a cleaner appearance, we made some spacers out of aluminum tubing. Then tighten the bolts, install the hoses, connect the wiring for the electric fan, add the coolant, and don't forget to replace anything you may have removed, like these covers. With everything installed, it's time for a test drive. As you can see, the car is running at 210, 25 degrees cooler than it did with the aftermarket Radiator. In fact, the IR thermometer reads about 178 at the outlet. Okay, we've installed the Maxx Power Tri-Flow Radiator in this 67 Pontiac Firebird. As you've seen from the test drive, we decreased temp by about 25 degrees, increased drivability. This car is no longer overheating. The owner is going to be much happier with it. Let's go through the technology though of why it works so good. You have water that comes in the inlet of the radiator, and then it goes and hits the first flow divider, which sends it down across to the other tank. Goes down, hits a second flow divider, puts it back through the core for a second time, comes down into the tank, and then back through the core for a third time. That's 3 times circulation, 3 times in front of the fan to decrease the temperature. So now that you've seen it in action and know that it works, we'll give you even more confidence to buy with our 60-day money-back guarantee. Just click the link below and visit eastwood.com today.